The cries of newborns echoed through the maternity ward, but not all tears were welcome. When Adesua gave birth to twin girls, the entire hospital held its breath. Her husband, Felix, a wealthy businessman, rushed in with flowers and balloons. "Where are my princesses?" A nurse pointed to the cradle near the window. "Sir, they're right there." Felix hurried over, his heart pounding with joy, but one glance at the babies drained the color from his face. "What, in God's name, is this?" The first baby had a cleft lip so deep her gums showed. The second had large patches of discolored skin, one eye cloudy, and limbs curved unnaturally. He stumbled backward, nearly dropping the bouquet. "This can't be. These aren't mine." The nurse stepped back, insulted. "Sir, these girls came from your wife. The doctor can confirm. Twins. Born healthy but with visible deformities." Felix's voice cracked. "Ugly. They're ugly. My lineage doesn't produce monsters." Back in the ward, Adesua was drowsy from anesthesia. When Felix barged in, she smiled weakly. "Did you see them? Are they beautiful?" He stood still, silent. "Felix?" she asked again, but her voice faded when she saw the look in his eyes. He whispered, "They're a curse, Adesua. They don't look human." That evening, Adesua demanded to see them herself. A nurse placed both babies in her arms. She looked down and gasped. Her eyes filled with horror. No. This is not what I prayed for. Not what the prophet showed me. These aren't the royal twins." She tried to hand them back, but the nurse refused. "They're yours, whether you prayed or not." Adesua's hands trembled. "I dreamed of beautiful girls, models, dancers, brides, not this." The nurse turned away. "Then pray again, Mom, but don't blame them for how they were born." 3 nights later, while the ward slept, Adesua slipped out. She carried the twins, wrapped in a single old shawl. Outside, the moon was high, and the river behind the hospital was still. She stood at the bank, her eyes red, her breath shallow. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "but I cannot be the mother of ridicule. The world won't laugh at me." She kissed both babies once, then with shaking arms, dropped them into the water and ran. But fate had other plans. The twins didn't sink. They floated, as though the river itself refused to accept the injustice. They drifted quietly, their cries soft against the midnight silence. The next morning, Mama Rejoice, a poor but kind widow, was washing clothes by the river with her teenage son, Tochi. "Mama," Tochi shouted, "something is floating. I think it's alive." They rushed over and found the babies, barely breathing, barely warm, but alive. Without thinking, Mama Rejoice wrapped them in her wrapper and sprinted home. Tochi ran ahead, boiling water and clearing a space on their only bed. That night, they named the babies Amara and Anita. Grace and favor. Doctors said they wouldn't survive, that they needed therapy, surgeries, expensive procedures. Mama Rejoice sold her only sewing machine, then her goat, then her wedding ring. She didn't care. "God gave me these children. I won't return them." Years passed. Anita's legs were corrected with braces. Amara's face was reshaped through donated surgeries. But their hearts? Those never needed fixing. They grew up humble, intelligent, and inseparable. Everywhere they went, people stared at them. Weren't those the ugly twins from the river? But they smiled anyway, because Mama Rejoice always said, "What people call ugly, God calls unique." At age 10, Amara began drawing, not just sketches, masterpieces. By 14, she was winning art awards across the country. At 15, Her paintings were displayed in a Paris gallery. She became the youngest Nigerian to sell a piece for $150,000. Anita, on the other hand, had a mind for science. At 16, she built a speech device that helped mute children communicate using blinking lights. A global NGO sponsored her to study in Switzerland. She graduated top of her class and started her own tech startup. By 17, both twins were national heroes. TV stations ran features on them. From river rejects to revolutionaries, their story touched millions. Meanwhile, Felix and Adesua's lives had fallen apart. After that night, they'd told everyone the twins had died at birth, but their lies caught up. Their business failed. Their marriage crumbled. One evening, Adesua was watching TV in a food vendor's shop when she saw a documentary. The twins who survived the river. And then the names. Amara and Anita Rejoice. Her heart stopped. Her mouth hung open. Her knees buckled. Felix didn't believe it until he saw the birthmark on Amara's neck, the one that only they knew about, the one he'd once called a devil's print. They tried to visit the girls, now public figures, but gods stopped them. "Do you have an appointment?" "Were their parents?" Adesua whispered. We made a mistake." But Mama Rejoice stood between them and the gates. She looked them dead in the eyes. "Number, you didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. And so did I. I chose to love them. Now they are mine." Adesua wept. Felix broke down, but it was too late. Some sins leave stains no apology can wash. That night, at their mansion in Lekki, Amara and Anita sat by Mama Rejoice's feet. Anita held her hand. Amara laid her head on her lap. "You saved us?" they whispered. "No," Mama Rejoice smiled. "You saved me." That night, the stars twinkled over Lagos like tiny witnesses in heaven. Inside the girls' spacious home, the lights were dim, the air peaceful. But inside their hearts, storm. Amara stood by the window, staring into the city lights. "They came to see us today," she whispered. Anita nodded slowly, her face unreadable. "I saw them on the CCTV. They waited in the rain." For the first time in years, silence crept between the sisters. Amara turned sharply, her voice cracking. "Do you want to see them?" "I don't know if I do. I mean, what if they lie again?" Anita folded her arms. "I don't want to see them because they abandoned us, but part of me wants to know why. I want to hear it from them, face to face." Mama Rejoice entered quietly, her hair wrapped in her favorite Ankara scarf. "You don't owe anyone anything," she said gently. "But forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. The heart gets heavy if it carries too many unanswered questions." She held out 2 envelopes. They wrote letters. "You don't have to read them now, or ever, but I think you should know. They're dying." Amara's eyes widened. Anita stiffened. Mama Rejoice explained softly. "Felix has late-stage cancer. Your mother, heart failure. Their doctor says it's a matter of weeks." The silence in the room thickened. Death has a way of making even the hardest anger tremble. 2 days later, the girls agreed to visit them. Not for love, not even for closure, just to see the truth with their own eyes. They arrived at a crumbling flat in a forgotten part of town, paint peeled from the walls. The gate hung loose. It was hard to believe this used to be a mansion family. Felix sat on a plastic chair, thin, weak, and coughing violently. Adesua lay on a mat, her frame sunken, cheeks hollow, eyes lost. When they saw the twins step in, grown, radiant, strong, they both broke down in sobs. Felix fell to his knees. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve anything. Just allow me to see what you became before I close my eyes forever. Adesua stretched her shaking hand toward them. You were the most painful mistake of my life. I threw away my womb that day, and the shame has never left me. Her voice cracked. Please, if nothing else, call me mother. Just once. Let me hear it before I die. The girls stood there, frozen. Amara looked at Anita, her hands trembling. And then she took a deep breath. She walked forward, knelt beside Adesua, and whispered, You are the woman who birthed me, but you're not my mother. Anita added softly, Mama Rejoice is our real mother. But we forgive you. The room exploded in sobs. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was release. Adesua kissed the floor, whispering, Thank you, over and over. Felix whispered a prayer. Let me die now. In peace? A week later, Felix passed. 3 days after, Adesua followed. They were buried quietly, without fanfare. But at their graves stood 2 women in white, Amara and Anita. They left white lilies behind. No anger, no hate, just peace. Months passed. The twins returned to their work. Amara launched a global gallery project for burn survivors and people with facial deformities. She called it Beauty from the Fire. It was an instant sensation. Anita's tech company created a solar-powered hearing device for rural children. Her innovation made the front cover of Time magazine, but every time they were praised, they said one name, Mama Rejoice. By the time the girls turned 21, they had bought their foster mother a 3-story home in Ibadan, complete with a garden, chapel, and her own staff. But Mama Rejoice remained the same, humble, prayerful, and always first to cook breakfast. In interviews, when asked if they ever regretted being abandoned, Amara would smile. If I wasn't thrown away, I wouldn't have been found. Anita would add, if we weren't born ugly to some, we wouldn't have known the beauty inside us. Then they'd both laugh, their faces full of joy. One day, Mama Rejoice sat with both daughters in the backyard. Birds chirped above. She looked at them and said, You've become everything they said you'd never be. Amara kissed her cheek. Because of you. Anita nodded. You didn't give birth to us. You gave life to us. That night, as rain poured gently on the roof, Mama Rejoice knelt at her bedside, her grey hands raised toward the heavens. Thank you, Lord, she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks, for turning what was thrown away into treasure. Life moved on, but memories never stopped echoing. Sometimes Amara would sit by the riverside, the very same one they were thrown into. She didn't cry. She simply watched the water flow and whispered, You held us when no one else would. One day, she placed a small stone plaque at the river's edge. It read, We were not wanted, but we were preserved. From pain, we rose. From rejection, we bloomed. It became a sacred place for others who felt thrown away. Honorary events, international awards, and scholarships flooded in. But the girls never let fame blind them. They started the From the River Foundation, helping children born with physical challenges find medical support, education, and love. Children abandoned due to deformities were rescued from trash bins, alleys, and riversides. The foundation gave them names, homes, families. Each child's file bore a gold stamp. Hope is born again. The media called them the River Twins. Meanwhile, a curious journalist named Damola stumbled across the twins' story. She wanted more than headlines. She wanted truth. She began digging and uncovered the full, chilling details of their past. Damola aired a 1-hour documentary, Thrown into the River, the story of Amara and Anita. The nation watched, the world listened, People wept. The public outcry was enormous. How could any mother do this? But in the closing moments of the documentary, Amaras Voice came in gently. Before you curse them, remember, we are not victims. We are victors. And yes, we forgave them because we are free. That single sentence changed hearts. People began writing letters, some from mothers who had once considered doing the same, others from children who had been left behind but were still waiting to heal. The girls began speaking at conferences. Hospitals invited them to hold workshops on emotional recovery. Anita developed a course for nurses and doctors on Habhabhai, how to care with compassion. Amara designed therapeutic art retreats for burn survivors, but even with success, they had scars. Anita once stood in the mirror after a speech in Paris. Her face, now elegant, confident, still carried a mark above her left brow. She touched it and whispered, "I used to think this made me ugly. Now I think it makes me powerful." One stormy evening, as the girls prepared dinner at home, a knock came at the door. A boy stood there, drenched, holding a small baby in his arms. "She was left at our gate. They said this is the house that doesn't throw people away." Amara took the baby without a word. Anita wrapped a blanket around the boy. Mama Rejoice stepped in from the hallway and smiled softly. "Set another plate," she said. "No one sleeps hungry in this house." The baby stayed. The boy stayed. And so began another chapter of restoration. The home became a sanctuary where broken became beautiful. Years later, the twin sisters published a book titled We Were Ugly, a story of beauty, pain, and becoming. It became a global bestseller, translated into 19 languages, read in schools, churches, prisons, and therapy rooms. And in every country where they spoke, people would ask them, "What would you say to the mother who threw you away if she were still alive?" Anita would pause and answer, "I'd thank her, because she gave me a chance to be found by someone better." Amara would add, "I'd tell her, you thought you threw us into death, but you accidentally threw us into destiny." Back home, their river still flowed, now protected by the government. A statue stood at its edge, two girls standing hand in hand, facing the current. Beneath it read, "Rejected by man, rescued by grace." Mama Rejoice passed on at the age of 92 in her sleep, surrounded by grandchildren and great-grandchildren she never birthed but loved deeply. Her tombstone read, "Mother to the thrown away, guardian of purpose." At her funeral, thousands gathered. Doctors, lawyers, survivors, all held candles. All had once been ugly babies in the eyes of the world. Now shining with light, Amara stood at the graveside long after the funeral ended. She held a single white rose and whispered, "Everything we are, Mama, we owe to you. Rest now. We'll keep loving the ones the world throws away." Tears fell, but they were not bitter. They were sacred. Anita found herself revisiting the river once again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Children from the foundation walked with her, holding flowers. They threw petals into the water and chanted, "We are not mistakes, we are miracles." Years rolled on. The river twins became icons of compassion and resilience. Universities honored them with degrees. One headline read, "From trash to triumph, the girls who refused to be broken." In 2032, a movie was made about their lives. It was titled The Water Remembers. The film broke records across Africa and the diaspora. Audiences cried, critics praised it. It won awards in Cannes and Toronto. In one pivotal scene, the actress playing Adesua breaks down after throwing the babies into the water, haunted by their cries. That single scene sparked global conversations on postpartum trauma, social stigma, and parental rejection. Laws were changed. New safe haven baby centers were opened in multiple African countries. They were nicknamed Rejoice Cradles, a tribute to the woman who chose love over fear. One rainy morning, Amara received a letter from a teenage girl in Malawi. I was born without ears. My parents hid me from the world. But when I saw your story, I stopped hiding. Now I sing. Thank you for showing me I'm not ugly. I'm rare. The letter sparked a new project, the Rare Ones campaign, a movement to celebrate rare features and birth differences as uniqueness, not flaws. Billboards across cities showed portraits of burn survivors, albino children, vitiligo models, and amputees. One billboard read, "The world doesn't define your beauty, your courage does." And beneath it, a photo of Amara and Anita holding hands, laughing, scars visible, eyes radiant. At 30, the twins co-founded the River School, an elite boarding school for children rescued from abandonment. It provided education, therapy, mentoring, and purpose. Their motto, "We don't just teach minds, we rebuild hearts." Among the first batch of graduates was a blind girl named Zara. She gave a valedictory speech using Braille. Her closing words moved everyone. "I was left in a bush. Now I stand on a stage. Because two sisters didn't give up on children like me." That speech went viral. The River School was flooded with funding. Branches opened in Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, and Sierra Leone. Each school bore a statue of Mama Rejoice at the gate. Children touched her feet before walking into class. Anita married a gentle-hearted pediatrician named Tunde. Their wedding was small, elegant, and filled with orphans they'd once rescued. Instead of flowers, they carried handmade signs. "Love found us, now it finds others." Amara didn't marry, but adopted 3 girls, each once abandoned. "I was thrown away, now I raise queens," she said. Her daughters, Lola, Zina, and Nori, called her Mama Fireheart because her courage burned through every pain. When their 40th birthday arrived, a celebration was held at the River School. Old students returned. Survivors now thrived. Hundreds gathered and sang a song written by the children. From the water, we rose. A monument was unveiled. 2 baby girls held by unseen hands rising from the river. A plaque read, "The world called them ugly. Destiny called them chosen." That day, Anita sat quietly beside Amara and said, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we weren't rescued?" Amara smiled softly. "We wouldn't have known this much love. Pain gave us purpose." Later that year, an international magazine named them among the 100 most influential women of the century. But in their acceptance speech, they said, "We are not heroes. We are just evidence that grace still finds the thrown away." In their final years, the sisters slowed down, not from weakness, but from contentment. The world had been given all their light. Now they just wanted to rest, write, and raise the next generation of world changers. A final book was released, What the River Kept. It contained their journals, poems, letters to Mama Rejoice, and stories of every child they helped. It became required reading in African psychology classes. Anita passed away quietly in her sleep at age 88. Her granddaughter found her journal open beside her, with the last entry reading, "I came ugly, I left beautiful. Grace did this." Amara passed 6 months later, on the same day they were rescued decades ago. She was found in her art studio, painting two glowing babies wrapped in golden cloth. Her hand still held the brush. They were buried side by side near the river that once held them. The crowd was massive. Nations sent flags. Choirs sang. Children danced. And as the caskets were lowered, a dove flew above the waters. Zara, now headmistress of the river school, gave a moving eulogy. They taught us to love what the world feared. They taught us to build what the world broke. They were not just twins. They were thunder. Today, in textbooks and history halls, the river twins are honored, not for surviving abandonment, but for rewriting the meaning of rejection. They became symbols that scars can shine, that trash can become treasure, that ugly can become unforgettable. Tourists visit their monument every year. Children dip their feet in the river and say, "This is where beauty began." Poems are written about them. Songs are sung in churches, homes, and schools. One chorus echoes most. When the world said no, love said rise. Young mothers on the verge of giving up now visit safe centers instead. They say, "I remembered the river twins, and I chose love." That choice has saved thousands of lives. Their story has become more than a tale. It is a movement, a revolution, a heartbeat for every soul who has ever been thrown away. And so the river flows, still, gentle, sacred, carrying stories of the forgotten, restoring dignity to every drop. In a museum in Abuja, one painting hangs in a special glass case. Two baby girls in the river, held by light. The title, "The Day Grace Reached Down." A note beside it says, "They were discarded by shame. They were recovered by purpose, and they became mothers to millions." Every year on the anniversary of their rescue, a lantern festival is held. Thousands float glowing lamps on the river at dusk. Each lamp represents a child saved, a story rewritten. One small child once asked her mother at the event, "Mama, do you think the river still remembers them?" Her mother smiled, tears in her eyes. "Child, the river became them." The legacy of Amara and Anita lives not only in buildings or books, but in every child who believes they are worth loving, in every hand that refuses to throw away. In classrooms, in hospitals, in villages, in cities, their story whispers one truth: no one is too ugly to be loved. From the water they rose, from rejection they ruled, from ashes they created fire. And as long as rivers run, their story will never die, because it was never just about them. It was about us, the broken, the abandoned, the redeemed. So when someone says you're too far gone, too flawed, too forgotten, remember the river twins, because what was once thrown away can become the very thing that changes the world. Moral lessons from the river twins story. 1. Never judge a child by their appearance. Beauty is not always what the eye can see. What is seen as ugly may grow into the greatest gift the world needs. 2. Rejection doesn't define your destiny. Being thrown away does not mean you are worthless. Sometimes rejection is redirection toward your purpose. 3. One act of kindness can change generations. Mama Rejoice's decision to rescue the twins didn't just save 2 lives, it transformed thousands more. Your compassion can spark a revolution. 4. Every life has value, even when the world says otherwise. No child is a mistake. Every soul deserves a chance to live, love, and thrive, regardless of how they look or where they come from. 5. The pain of the past can be the foundation of purpose. Amara and Anita used their suffering as fuel to help others. Don't bury your pain. Transform it into healing. 6. Redemption is always possible. Even Adesua, the mother who abandoned her babies, found healing and peace through confession, forgiveness, and facing her guilt. 7. True family is not always blood, it's love. The twins were not raised by their biological mother, but by a stranger who loved them like her own. Love builds the strongest families. 8. What you throw away might be what the world needs most. Be careful what you discard. The very thing you reject may rise up to become a blessing to nations. 9. Disability or uniqueness is not a curse. It's a calling. Those who look different are not broken. They are uniquely created and often chosen for something extraordinary. 10. Your scars can become someone else's roadmap to healing. By sharing your wounds and journey, you help others believe they too can overcome their darkest moments. 11th. Compassion is more powerful than criticism. The world is full of judgment. Be the one who chooses mercy. A kind heart leaves a legacy. 12th. No one is too small to make a big difference. Mama Rejoice was a poor widow with no riches, but her heart changed history. Your influence is not measured by wealth, but by love. 13. Speak life over every child. What we say over children shapes their future. Don't curse what God has created. Your words can either break or build destinies. 14. Forgiveness frees the soul. When the twins forgave their mother, they didn't do it because she deserved it, but because they deserved peace. 15th. God can use what was thrown away. Even if the world rejects you, heaven still has a plan. Grace can reach you, no matter how deep the river. 15 years ago, they were called ugly, thrown away, forgotten like trash, left to die in the hands of the river. But what was meant to drown them, raised them, and what was meant to destroy them, defined them. From the tears of rejection, they grew compassion. From the pain of abandonment, they built purpose. And from the scars the world tried to hide, they created light for thousands of others. These twins were not just survivors. They were warriors, carriers of grace, proof that broken beginnings can still lead to beautiful endings. So if life has ever thrown you away, if you've ever been called unworthy, unwanted, or too broken to be loved, remember this: your story is not over. Sometimes the most powerful people rise from the deepest waters. And if you are still here, breathing, then you too are a miracle in motion. You are not forgotten. You are not ugly. You are not alone. You are proof that what man rejects, God can still redeem. Let this story remind you that beauty often rises from the broken. And if this story touched your heart, please don't leave without doing one simple thing. Click like to show love. Comment with your thoughts or share your testimony. Share this video with someone who needs hope today. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel where stories like these bring healing, faith, and truth to light. You never know, the next story might be yours. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay kind, and always remember, you are loved.